Hello everyone, and welcome to the video for your next major assignment, which is the Writing to Explore essay or project. This video is going to sort of break down my expectations for this project and give you some insight into what you can develop for the project and the type of avenues you can choose for your project options. So first and foremost, this project, when we continue to move along in the semester, you'll notice that you will have options and additional alternatives that you can develop or build for your particular projects. And so for the first project, which was the personal narrative, you had the option of developing an essay or a PowerPoint with voiceover. Now, the essay is always going to be an option. As I've stated before, this is a writing class, and in this case, it is no different. You can choose an essay. If you decide to develop an essay for this project, it should be a minimum of 750 words, much like the personal narrative. However, you can also develop a PowerPoint with audio voiceover. Some of you have chose this route for the personal narrative. And now you have a new option, which is a Weebly website or any other type of website that you can develop. My advice would be to pick one of your free website design pages, whether that's Weebly, Adobe Spark. I know students have utilized other different websites in the past. That is up to you. But if you decide to develop a website, it should be 4 distinct pages. Now, regardless of the type of project you choose, whether it's an essay, a website, or a PowerPoint, there should be at least one properly cited source. Now, if you want some insight into proper citation, please reference the Writing to Explore assignment sheet that is available on Blackboard under the Writing to Explore section. It will give you information about the project outside of what I'm talking about here, and it will also show you how to properly cite a source. And so if you follow that template that I give you that's on the assignment sheet, when it comes to citing your sources, you should be just fine. Now, as with the project, remember, I never put a ceiling on how far you want to go. So obviously, essays can be well over 750 words. Websites can be well over 4 distinct pages. And PowerPoints can go, with audio, can go well above 10, 15, 20 minutes. It is up to you to at least reach the standard that I am setting. Easy ways to lose points in my class are to either turn work in late or to not meet what the standard is setting for you. So for this project, essentially, you will have 4 particular scenarios that you can choose from to develop. The first scenario you can choose is a project that explores a career or a major. And so some of you are at COD, it's your first year, it's your second year. Some of you may not know what you want to go into, which is perfectly fine. Others of you may already have your path sort of set out. You want to become doctors, you want to become nurses, you want to become engineers, you want to become business people, you want to become educators. Whatever your particular path is, you can develop your project around it. Now, one thing I do want to say about this exploration piece is that the goal is to be essentially objective. Your job isn't necessarily to convince your audience one way or another, but more importantly, to provide them with enough information so that they can make their own informed decision. And so in this case, if you're choosing to develop a project around a career major, say for instance, those of you who are going into the nursing program, you would probably want to build your project around questions that you have about the program itself. So some things that you could build upon would be, what type of schooling does someone in the nursing program need in order to graduate? What type of job opportunities are there for nurses? Because nursing is across a wide different fields. People who are nurses work in the ER, they work in the intensive care unit, they work in prenatal, they work in neurosurgery, they work in all sorts of different areas. So nursing isn't just centered around this one thing. You can look at job responsibilities, you can look at job security, and those are probably questions that you can answer to give the audience more insight and information about that particular career path. You can also do an exploration, which would be the second option, of a personal interest. So this is where students tend to explore things that they have an affinity for, topics that they have a vast liking or passion about. So I've had students explore their favorite music genre, their favorite sports team, their favorite artist, their favorite hobby or passion. And so, for instance, I've had students who were exploring their favorite sports team and they were asking questions as if they were the general manager of their team. So I had a student one time do an exploration about the Cubs after they won the World Series. And his exploration focused around the question, the underlying question of what would it take for the Cubs to repeat or win a second World Series going into the year 2017, which was the year after they won in 2016. And so we asked questions like, which players are essential for the club to stay on top? What type of salary are we looking at in terms of the people being paid? What does the rest of the division look like in terms of the strength of the division? And what are the betting odds in Las Vegas for this particular Cubs team? You can also do an exploration of your own beliefs. Now, this is where students who have a very strong connection to their personal narrative tend to do an extension of that discussion. But now, instead of just focusing inwardly on their own particular personal narrative, they now expand it to a larger audience. So, for example, I've had students who grew up in a house that had corporal punishment utilized or incorporated. Now, for those of you who do not know, corporal punishment is the use of physicality to sort of reprimand your child. So spanking your child, fetching a switch, as the old saying goes, hitting your child in order to instill some sort of punishment. And so I've had some students who swear by it, who say that they wouldn't have become the better person that they are if they never experienced corporal punishment. And then I had students on the other side of it who have argued that corporal punishment caused them to have increased insecurities, increased anxiety, and a fear of their mother or father. And so if you were to explore a topic like that, you may want to ask questions opposed to forming arguments. So you may ask a question like, how effective is corporal punishment? You might ask questions like, are there alternatives that work just as well or better than corporal punishment? And why have certain schools still utilized or maintain corporal punishment while the majority of other schools no longer utilize that practice? And so asking those questions tends to create more of an exploration opposed to an argument. Keep in mind, when we get to the next project, which is analysis, that's when you'll be forming an argument. Right now, as I've stated, I'm really looking for you to investigate or explore the topic. And then lastly, the last option you have is an exploration of a particular community, a community that you are a part of or a community outside of your own. So sometimes this has been connected to a religious aspect. Students have explored different communities in terms of their religion. So whether that's Buddhism, Hinduism, whether that's Islam, these are things that people either had an interest in and they wanted to know more about, so they asked questions about it, or they asked their family members or relatives who might be more devout to give them information about it as well. Other times, people have looked at communities that they were interested in but had very little understanding of or wanted to become more invested in. So, for example, I had a student last semester who did an exploration of the cosplay community. She's invested in cosplay now. She's been doing it for about 5 years. But when she first started, she didn't know where to go, where to get the costumes, where to get the material, what were the sort of events that were going on at different times. So she asked certain questions that pertain to that community. What type of cosplay communities are there close to me? How many different cosplay communities are there in the United States? What type of material do you need in order to build a successful cosplay costume? And so these were all questions that when someone else reads them, they can become informed, they can get more information, they can then decide whether or not this is the particular activity, job, career, personal belief that they feel that they can attach to or understand, and then ultimately make their own decision about that particular topic. So just to sort of bookend this discussion and this video, again, please keep in mind that the essay, if you choose to go that route, should be 750 words. The Weebly or Adobe Spark or other sort of website should be at least 4 distinct pages. And then if you decide to do a PowerPoint, please make sure you do have a voiceover. Keep up the good work, everybody, and take care.